CFL betting blueprint. It is week 7 in the CFL as time flies by. Andrew, Terry, Bobby with you. Look forward to breaking things down. 4 games, of course, here for week 7. And hey, look, it was finally a week where overs didn't dominate, but we only saw 2 unders, so it's not that much of a comeback for team unders. We got our first glimpse of what it might look like when we don't have starting quarterbacks. Worked quite well for one team, didn't work well for another team. We'll dive all the way into that stuff. Terry, your impressions on week 6. We're now a third of the way through the CFL season.
Yeah, it was an interesting week. So, of course, if you've been betting overs every single game, that, of course, stopped in week 5 a little bit. And then again here in week 6, or last week, of course, in week 6. The main over was the over I was on. So I was happy about that. Montreal and Calgary took the over there, finished 37-30. And then Tyson Philpott. I mentioned him last week. Had a enormous game once again. Jalen didn't have a big game. So I'm wondering, obviously we're gonna talk about it soon, the rematch between those two teams this week. Wondering if we see a bigger game from Jalen Philpott at home. And what Tyson does in the rematch of the Tyson Philpott Bowl.
Yeah, Bobby, I know you're not, some weeks you'll have more than others, wherever the board tells you, but I know you were happy about that Winnipeg result over the weekend. Your thoughts on week 6 in the CFL?
Yeah, that Winnipeg result made up for like a dangerous week, even for professional bettors here. I don't know if you guys played Guitar Hero growing up, but Freebird was one of like the hardest songs to play. And first 4 or 5 minutes of the song, you're thinking, yeah, it's pretty good. This is pretty good. You're feeling good. And then the guitar solo kicks in and you just hold on for dear life and eventually crash out. And that's exactly what happened with the Redblacks and the Ticats this week. For 3.5 quarters, both of them were looking like they were at least going to cover the spread. Then disaster struck. They both flamed out, and they flamed out pretty badly. The amount of points scored in the last few minutes of those games. Chris Streveler said there's no such thing as garbage time, but it sure looked like garbage time in both of those games. So unfortunate losses, but yeah, that Winnipeg line was so off, and glad it could have basically mitigated any losses from a 1-2 weekend, just down maybe a quarter unit or so.
Yeah, I mean, he's defending it, former player. I think that whether or not we want to agree or not on the garbage time stuff, I think we can agree on garbage time stats. The Dak Prescott special. I think that we can all agree that, like I had somebody telling me, and with all due respect to this person on social media, how many yards Zach Collaros has so far this year. But then in the same tweet, they mentioned 5 touchdown passes. So it's like, yeah, you can put up numbers, but if you don't execute when you needed to, it doesn't really matter a little bit there. And guys, I'll say this, Bobby, exactly kind of what you described there with your reference is kind of how I felt about backing the Ottawa Redblacks for the first time this season, plus the 6.5, 16-14 after the third quarter. And then they give up a ton. And I mean a ton. We could do a whole podcast about how everybody seemed to announce Coach Dinwiddie as the Belichick of the CFL before the season started. And he somehow started Jake Mayer, got Drew Brown traded, and his team has looked god-awful. So we're going to talk about them. But I will say this. I try not to just blame quarterbacks. I feel like it's a lazy football take when you just blame quarterbacks. The guy had 4 interceptions. Like, if he maybe only has 2, maybe I get the cover. Who knows? Kicking a field goal, and then for no reason, and then going for it 3rd and 10. Like, I don't know. But Montreal minus 3.5. That was a nice winner. And then, of course, I think it's been like, I don't know, 2024, the last time I had a 5% under in any single sport, if I'm being honest. And that was a nice under with the Hamilton and Saskatchewan game. So 4-1 with 5% plays on the season, and we have surpassed the 20-unit mark on the season. So we can't look back. We can only move forward here, guys. We'll start things off with the first game of the week. The BC Lions and the Edmonton Elks early opener was 3.5, but it has settled down at the -3 number. Bobby, do you have anything for us in this game?
Not particularly. Like that Edmonton score, like you said, doesn't really reflect how that game against Ottawa went. They did have to at least like put some effort in to kind of finish them off in the end there. BC off a bye after 2 like sort of semi home games in Kelowna. Best quarterback in the league still. I'm still going to say it. Edmonton, probably the better team, but not 3 points better. So if I'm going to lean anywhere, it'd be BC, but I'll probably wait till this pops up. It looks like it's bouncing between 3 and 3.5, at least for now. So that's something that I'll probably jump on before the end of the week.
Terry, obviously, like we said 3.5. I know you have not been someone that's ever taken a big jog to the window to back this Elks team by any means here. Total is 60.5. Is there anything that you look at here? For what it's worth, of course, with BC coming off that bye, I think people were saying before that bye weeks didn't matter too much, but for a team that hasn't had a home field advantage, it's probably nice for them to have that bye. But how do you feel about this one here, Terry?
Yeah, I might not have ran to the window, but I did bet the Elks in their last game against the BC Lions. And oh boy, was that a mistake. That mistakes happen. That was the case there. This BC Lions team they own the Edmonton Elks. If you look back over the last 13 meetings, BC has won 12 of them. So for whatever reason, they really dominate this Elks team. But looking at this spot here, BC, they've only played 4 games. Every other team has played 5 games so far in the season. Obviously, BC was 0-3 heading into that game against Edmonton. Now they're off a bye, so we've only seen 4 games from them, only 1 game recently against this Edmonton team. So I still don't know where this BC Lions team fits overall in the standings, the power rankings, as everyone loves to call them. So I'm interested to see this game here this week. Obviously, BC having the bye, they're going to be rested and should be well prepared here. Obviously, they just faced this Edmonton team. Edmonton will be looking for revenge. Justin Rankin had 19 rushing yards against BC in that game. Every other game he's played this season, he's gone over 100, and he's got touchdowns in every other game. But BC was able to shut him down, and BC's allowing 59.8 rushing yards per game so far this year, the lowest in the CFL. Can they stop him again? That's going to be the big question here. If you like BC, I think you probably would lean towards Justin Rankin under in his rush yards. I don't know if I want to go there, but the fact that they held him to 19 rushing yards in the game they played, I'm interested to see what happens there. So this one right now is a wait and see for me. Haven't locked in anything at this moment. I'm going to be looking at this game, though, happening on Friday night.
Yeah, I think that when you look at this game, I think you look at, again, this year, best team against the run. Last year, BC, best team against the run. So, guys, we've talked about the time that maybe the unders will catch up. When will we start to see the unders? I know the Edmonton, Cody Fajardo, we know Rankin, 3rd time this season. We've only had 6 weeks so far, player of the week. I think sometimes, there is that revenge factor. You mentioned it, Terry. There's the kind of the shift in location, of course, the shift in point spread. I'm going to go out on a limb with another attempt to bet an under here and say, hey, look, no Rankin means no points. If they can somehow slow down the run once more, which they seem to have no issues doing in the past, I think BC, we can know how great their offense can be, but 16 points is a lot for anybody. I think the under could be a play here, guys. So we'll see what ends up happening. And to Bobby's point, maybe you're just making me feel better, Bobby, but look, it's always interesting when you have a team coming off a victory against a bad team. We use this across all sports, right? Edmonton coming off a victory against the worst team in the league by a mile right now. For now, worst team in the league by a mile. how much do we really care about what they're able to do? And it was all fourth quarter points. So maybe we could see an under. And I know this sounds crazy. We'll talk about it in a couple minutes here, but I thought the Ottawa defense did an okay job of shutting down the Elks, at least early on. And obviously, this Lions defense is hopefully a bit better than that, that Ottawa defense. That's for sure. All right, so let's jump into the next one here, guys. Montreal and Calgary. When we talk about these type of situations, we look at bounce backs, we look at revenge factors. We see this all the time in the CFL. We have to ask ourselves, does must win mean will win? Does revenge mean will win? Does a total end up being the same if it went over or under in the first game? Or do we look at it as a whole different ball game here, Terry? I mean, Montreal, again, we always say there's the early openers, then there's the real opener, then there's the movement. They open as plus 1.5. Now they're minus 1.5. All books. What do you have for us in this game?
Yeah, so this one is interesting here. Right away, when I look at this game, obviously these two teams just played each other last week. I want to go right back to Tyson Philpott receiving yards. I'm seeing it just got posted recently here, 94.5 as his number. But Davis Alexander passing yards are not available, and he has not looked completely healthy as of late. From what I was reading, that the Alouettes are not worried about him, so he should be good to go. But I want to know, I want to see that he's good and everything is good to go with Alexander before I consider a side here or total in this game. Because it really sucks that obviously the quarterback is is the most important position, but the fact that if you lose a quarterback and have to go to your backup, it just completely derails. Look at the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Obviously, it's only been one and a bit of a game, but they look like an absolute disaster. So if the Alouettes don't have Davis Alexander here in this game, that's a huge loss. So I want to see how healthy he is. If he's good to go, obviously probably not 100% the way he's looked the last couple of games, but if he's 70, 75%, I think he can still chuck the ball to Tyson Philpott. So interested to see this one. I kind of lean with the over once again, but again, want to see injury reports here in this game. I know it went over last week, so you might think it might go under this week. I think it's going to be close, but I think I would have to lean with the over at this point. And then the side, I want to take Montreal, but again, need to know how Davis Alexander is heading into this game.
It feels like the only thing stopping Alexander is injuries. Obviously that loss, earlier in the season, but I think, when you look at him, it's how much do we take that into account? Bobby, in general, over the years, you and I have been talking for CFL for several years together, but how much do you care about revenge stuff? Last week, I was excited to bet against Calgary because I bet on them the week before and they played as best as they possibly could. And it's that, I was joking around about when a team zigs, you have to zag. And now obviously they're coming off a loss. How do you approach revenge, and not just revenge, but rapid revenge?
I think it just kind of naturally zag, I guess, is what you're saying. Just because there's a recency bias when this line moves for the opener from what it would have been in the look ahead, right? Montreal looked in control of that game for the most part, right? So the eye test tends to favor the Alouettes. The lines moved a bit towards Montreal as well, and there's some smart people actually back in the Alouettes as well. I'm not too worried about Alexander. He played an entire season injured last year, and they went to the Grey Cup. And in terms of, you mentioned a must-win thing, I couldn't even tell you the record of either one of these teams. I just take it week by week and actually use the power rankings for what they're supposed to be used for. But in terms of this game, I think Calgary should be a slight favorite just based on home field advantage. I like that the lines move towards the Alouettes. I'm going to probably wait before actually jumping on Calgary here. But for me, it's stamps or nothing, especially if they're the underdog here.
Yeah, I think for me, like it's one of those ones where I used to think, like, especially with hockey, I love using if the first meeting went under, second meeting over, it's hard to have two defensive games in a row, and it's hard to have two absolutely outbreak games in a row. But for this one, this Stamps team, they love to roll the ball out and just say, let's play. Let's play some school art. I mean, what are they playing? Touch football, guys? Are there any tackles going on with these teams meet? I got a little bit worried about my -3.5 just because Montreal was equally giving up points right after they would get them themselves. So this is the highest total on the board, likely for a reason. And if the Stamps respond at home, I don't see them responding just defensively. I think we see points here. So some might say, hey, look, you've been looking for spots to bet the under. Why aren't you doing that with this one? Well, my answer is this is the highest total on the board for a reason. I know what these teams are capable of. And great point by Bobby. That gives me some confidence about him playing with injuries before. I mean, Terry's right. What these teams are capable of. For me, it's the over so far here in this game. If there's one game I have confidence in for these teams to just kind of trade, it's this one. And it kind of takes me out of having to worry about which team to back. So we'll see where the line goes up until game time. But for right now, I'm expecting points, whether it be first half, full game, or player props, whatever I end up looking at. For right now, guys, I think I'm just looking at the over in this one. And I know it's a high one. It's a high one. We started the season off with 48.5s and 51.5s, 52.5s, guys. But we'll see what ends up happening here with that one. All right, let's get to Toronto in Hamilton. Bobby, I want to start with you with this one because you've been making some jokes online, as you do, about the players, management, media talking about how many road games in a row for this Toronto team. First of all, as Terry would tell us, not much of a road game for Toronto, as Hamilton's not too far away, but it does suck to not have home field that often. Tell us how you feel right now about this Argos team. 4.5's the number we're seeing here, and a little bit juiced, of course, to the road team. 55 the total.
Yeah, I think this Argos team's on their seventh road game, even though their last home game in Winnipeg didn't go so well for them. But I want to, before we talk about the Argos, I want to talk about one of the most famous CFL haters online. That's Andrew McInnis, who mentioned over the weekend, like, how bad the drop off from QB1 to QB2 is in here. And like, I lived an entire game back in Jake Dolegala, right? So I know exactly what he's talking about. So like, I don't know if it's a combination of these backups being as bad as they've ever been, or maybe the starters are just as good as they've ever been, right? But Hamilton's in a lot of trouble here. On the other hand, the Argos never looked in control against like an average Bombers team. They had a touchdown saving forced fumble. Glenn Suter says it's called a forced fumble when you force a fumble. They had an INT in the end zone. They had a punt recovery, famously before Trey Vavel returned a missed field goal. But they needed a lot to go right for them. And honestly, like, Winnipeg was in control that whole game. So I don't want to be back in the Argos, but I'm in no rush to bet the Ticats here. I'm probably going to be on the Ticats, just a half unit, because this quarterback situation is so messed up. But we weren't surprised when Dolegala started. We said last week, like, nobody knows what Milanovic does. Nobody knows how he thinks. He'll just pick a quarterback and you have to accept it. But if he goes back to Dolegala again this week, I'd be surprised. And unfortunately, I'm with the crowd here that thinks Trey Ford should start this game. And until a third quarterback walks through that door, I think they should just let him go with it. And that third quarterback is not Jared Deggy. So they need to sign somebody off their negotiation list. They're screwed. But luckily, Ottawa's in their division. Bo Levi can come back with a few weeks left, and they'll backdoor into the playoffs. So I'm taking the Ticats, even at 4.5. I like it, but this line's going to go higher and higher. I think this should be less than 3 if Trey Ford's starting for the Ticats. And I've made a lot of money betting against Trey Ford, and now look, who's on the Trey Ford fan club. I'm not starting a fan club for Trey Ford. There's already one that exists. I'm not joining it, but I'm in their corner at least for this game.
All right, well, let's get into it. We'll bring Terry in too for this. Like, look, I know we got a game to break down, but you brought it up, Bobby. So look, I had some CFL writers, CFL media members, radio people, and just diehard fans act like I was destroying the league when just I was pointing out the obvious. And you know me, and I know the amount of winners you give out, Bobby, but I'm going to use it as an example because I think your pick, it's supposed to be the right side. And like last week, right? But there were people that I respect I saw on both sides. And the issue is that people were responding to me, well, backup goalies in the NHL or backup point guards in the NBA, or Terry, people were saying backup quarterbacks in the NFL as well. You know, it's like that. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. I was like, you have to be kidding me that you guys think that we can correlate this. Like, Terry, you and I that handicap the NHL, we know, if anything, backup goalies in the NHL have gotten better over the last few years. Like, if you look at depth across multiple sports, sure, Thursday night football, when two bad teams are playing in the NFL and a quarterback gets hurt, we see a shit product. But, like, I mean, like your Guitar Hero reference there, Bobby, like, hey, it was looking good till it wasn't. But, like, the fact is, Terry, there's such a drop-off. Like, it's not like the team was different. There was one player missing, and a quarterback was supposed to be an important player, but it's not supposed to represent. They scored 8 points. Shout out to my guy, Jeff Dawson. I do 2 shows a week with. He always bets team total overs. He said team total under, whatever number you can give me on Hamilton. And, well, he about nailed it because they scored 8 points. Your thoughts, Terry, on all this?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like we were talking about before the show, the quarterbacks, you take like the beginning of the CFL, it was so fun to watch every game. We're seeing all these quarterbacks slinging it down the field, high scoring, exciting games, really competitive games. And now we see quarterbacks get injured. And that game between Hamilton and Saskatchewan was the complete opposite of competitive. And we were talking about how the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they don't beat up opponents. They didn't really have to necessarily try to beat up Hamilton. They kind of just did it easily because Hamilton was just not able to score anything. Now we're looking at this matchup here against Toronto. And Hamilton 5-1 in the last 6 meetings. Last 5, all over 59.5. The last 4, all over 63.5. This is a high-scoring series. Hamilton wins. But like we just discussed, you take Boy Levi Mitchell out of that equation, and you can't even look at past history stats or what's happened before because it's just a completely different situation. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I lean heavily with the under 55.5 here in this one. Toronto has been able to stop
Terry betting an under. Terry, mark it down on your
calendar.
calendar.
I'm heavily leaning that way. I haven't got to it yet, but looking at Hamilton's offense, maybe this is the team that they can put up some points against. Obviously, they've done in the past. Toronto's allowed the most points in the CFL per game this season. So if Hamilton can't put up points here, then who can they put up points against? So again, I'm interested in this one, kind of leaning with the under here, but do I trust Toronto's defense? No, I don't trust Toronto's defense. So I'm torn in this one here. This could be a really ugly game, I think.
The best part, guys, is I heard that Jake Dolegala is familiar with Milanovic's system. That's what we heard going into the week. Oh yeah, I'm sure that average 4 yards per pass system is exactly what he was looking for here. Is that what they were working? And I'm not gonna lie, people were talking about how they had a week to practice versus him coming in after an injury. It looked like he could have used 8 years to practice. It didn't matter. So I try to be contrarian with totals or sides sometimes. Like you're a better man than me, Bobby, because if I woke up the next morning and I backed a backup quarterback again in the CFL and it was an easy winner for the other side, I would I don't know. I wouldn't be able to go for my walk that day, I don't think. So I think I'd have to be on the favorite or pass because there's just you can't equate enough like to how much of a drop off. I think. I guess if I started this ruckus on social media, I got to stand on my hill. I got to stick my chest out, and not back these quarterbacks again. So, but to Terry's point, Jargo's defense is pretty trash. So we'll see what happens. I get the look. 55.5 is the under I had last week for my 5% in the Hamilton game. It moved to 54. Sorry, I had 54.5. This number is now 55.5. It'd be under a pass for me in this game as well. All right. Last one, Winnipeg, Ottawa. I'll try and get that on the screen there. I'll keep this short and sweet for my opening thoughts. I'll go first in this one and just say this here, guys. I actually kind of like the under in this one as well. I think that if we do see Drew Brown being the guy, we're all going to remember what we saw late last. We're all going to remember that he put up 30 points, that he looked better than Zach Collaros, that he brought confidence back to Winnipeg Blue Bomber backers. And when you look at the Redblacks, you're going to remember what you saw in the fourth quarter where they looked abysmal. Defenses get tired. This defensive core for Ottawa did not look that bad through the first 35 minutes of the ball game. But if your offense doesn't stay on the field for longer than 3 seconds, then obviously you're going to get tired if you're always on the field. And Jake Mayer, 4 interceptions. Thanks for playing. Keep the change. Get on the bench. It's time for McLeod Bethel Thompson. And I can't believe I'm saying that either. Like literally when I thought things couldn't get worse, guys, he throws another interception. And shout out to the 3 Down Nation, guys. I love watching the podcast, but to say, hey, well, some receivers have to be better or the O-line has to be better. Look, I get it. We got to make life easier on the quarterback, but he had longer passes to the other team than he had to his own team throughout that game. He had a better performance throwing to the wrong team. He played better if he was a quarterback for the other team. So I think I might shock people by taking an under in a Redblacks game, but I'm going to kind of zag, I guess, when everyone's fired up over Drew Brown, 30 points. I don't know if he'll do it again. So, Bobby, I saw you tweet something out about this one, so you can go, and then Bobby or Terry right after.
Yeah, well, I guess while I'm defending Trey Ford here, I might as well defend Jake Mayer as well.
Good luck.
Sure, he threw 4 picks, but I don't know if that's like a true indication of I don't think he was that bad. One of them was like a second down arm punt. One was on third down where the guy should have just let it drop. Like he actually gained 4 yards on third down by throwing an interception. And one of them was just like a panic moment, which is inexcusable. The game's on the line and you don't even notice the play clock is down to 3, 2, 1, and he threw one up for grabs and obviously intercepted again. But you mentioned MBT. I think there's a chance this could be MBT. Jake Mayer, not the best quarterback. He, even though how bad he is, he still might be a top 10 quarterback in this league. That's how bad the quarterbacks are. But MBT is nowhere close. And he has had one good game in a long time. And it was a game where he like talked a bunch of smack after the game, saying, look at all the haters. I don't think there were any haters. Nobody even knew he was still in the league. And he followed it up with a bunch of junk the rest of the season. So you have to kind of factor Drew Brown into this. Like you said, like I think Drew Brown's going to be starting here. This is his told you so moment for Ryan Dinwiddie. So I like Winnipeg slightly if this is against Jake Mayer at this line. If this is against MBT, like this is going to go to 7. So I think there's somewhat of a free roll here, especially if you think Drew Brown is the 8th or 9th best quarterback in the league, meaning there's no downgrade from Zach Collaros to Drew Brown. So I just gave out Winnipeg at 3.5. It's gone up to 4.5. I still like it there. Basically anything below 5, I think you're laughing because this line's going to go to 7 if MBT is announced as the starter.
What if MBT doesn't start? What if he comes in mid-game? That's what I'm kind of thinking is here in this one. What if Dinwiddie goes back to Mayer one more time, but he throws an interception or two? in the first half.
Well, he's only in the game if Mayer doesn't play well. So
maybe we see
if MBT throws a pass in this game.
Yeah. Well, when I look at this one here, I obviously, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I want to know who's officially starting. We've seen that it has been Drew Brown practicing with first reps. I think you have to start Drew Brown in this game. If there's ever a game he's going to – now, obviously, he played really well last week. So, first of all, he deserves the start because I think he looked better last week than Collaros has looked all year, personally. I think Brown had a better game than we've seen from Collaros all year long. So he has that great game. Now he gets to face the worst team in the league, the team that just said, "Hey, we don't want you. We'd rather have Jake Mayer, who is second in the league in interceptions with 7." Thank God for him. Chad Kelly exists and has 8 interceptions, but I think Drew Brown, if he is the starter here in this game, I'm going to be on his passing yards prop. I think we see a really strong game from him here against his former team. And if MBT is the starter, I might look at his under passing yards because I don't think he's going to get the job done here. So, and then when it comes to the side, I'll be looking at Winnipeg as well, depending on who's at quarterback here and how things go. But I think Dinwiddie wants to put MBT in just because they pass history together and blah, blah, blah. Like Bobby said, he's nowhere close to the same quarterback he was then. I don't even want to see him on my TV screen because that's how awful it will be.
Well, how many picks is he going to throw? 5? I mean, I get Bobby was trying to defend Jake Mayer here, but like, how much worse could he be? Like, I don't know. Like, we'll see. And maybe he'll take a sack instead of throwing the ball away, which, as Bobby says on Twitter, it's pretty much just like when an interception happens. It's like a punt. It's like a Josh Allen interception. It's like a 70-yard punt. So at least it works that way a little bit. But guys, this is kind of no, you're right. At least it works like a punt. If it's a deep interception, it's better than a 10-yard interception. That's for sure. So, guys, people are talking about dog days of summer. We're in week 7 in the CFL. We're making money. We're having a good time handicapping this league. Now we're getting interesting with it with the injuries. It took a few more weeks than usual for them to start, but we'll take it. Plus 21 units for me on the season. 65% winners so far and 4-1 with 5% plays. So we got to play on Friday Night Football. We got to play on the weekend that I really, really like. And hopefully we can keep it going. So, guys, promo code bottom of the screen, Andrew 30% off any package at wt.buzz /AM. So it's not $30 off. It's 30% off. So 30 days, 90 days, 7 days, whatever it is you guys want of the full CFL season. That promo code is Andrew 30. Don't buy 5% play at a time, guys. There's no point. Get in on a package. Terry, anything you want to mention or promote, and Bobby, same for you.
Yeah, right now the best deal is buy 3 days, get 3 days free over on Picks and Parlays. I believe Wagertalk has that as well for Andrew. So instead of just getting like Andrew said, one package, one play, consider getting a few days so you can test us out. So I'll have baseball obviously when it's back here. Obviously CFL this weekend. So yeah, over on picksandparlays.net.
Bobby, you must have something for us, a witty comment, a jab at somebody. What do you have for us?
I was actually going to say we can go on about the drop off in quarterbacks. I have something to say about that, but I have a feeling we're going to be talking about it next week, based on who's likely to be touching the football this weekend. So I'll wait. I'll pass my time back to you.
Hey, I'm happy that VA is playing Alexander, and hopefully Davis stays healthy, because at least that's an over I can get behind, because it's two quarterbacks I can get behind and respect. So let's enjoy the week, guys. Let's make some money. Hit the like button on the video if you've been watching along. If we've made you some money, if we've cashed some tickets for you guys, follow us on X, and have a good week, guys. We'll talk to you next time. This has been the CFL Betting Blueprint.